Hi, this is Ryan, designer of Backwoods with Most High Design. Today we're playing Backwoods, which is a co-op game for 1 to 4 players, and it takes about 2 hours to play. This is an instructional overview. It won't include setup instructions, so you'll need to find that in the manual. We're going to hop right in and cover character creation. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to select a pioneer for me to play as a player. There are many pioneers to choose from. They each have special abilities and get a bonus ability rank. So I'm going to just go ahead and choose Charles for today. The next thing that you're going to do is choose melee or ranged. Melee allows you to block damage that a creature would deal to a ranged partner, so you can kind of step in front of the blow for a ranged player. And besides that, they each have different starting items and different items that are available to them. The melee items will always have this axe symbol on them, so when you go to craft an item, you can only use the axe symbol items if you are melee. Unless it doesn't have a symbol, then anyone can use it. And same for ranged with the bow symbol. I'm going to choose melee for today. The next thing that we're going to look at is our traits. There are a lot of traits to choose from, 17 actually. I'm going to choose regenerating today, which will allow me to gain health when I eat or drink. Next we're going to go to character creation in detail as far as ability ranks are involved. In a one-player game, I'm playing solo today, I get 6 points to invest into these abilities: Vitality, Survival, Fitness, and Combat. I've chosen to put 1 in Vitality, 0 in Survival, 1 in Fitness, and 4 in Combat. This gives me different passive abilities. For example, Vitality is giving me a +1 regeneration at the end of each day, so I'm going to gain 1 health at the end of each day, which is nice. I'm also going to avoid 1 damage during battles or events because I have damage reduction from swiftness in my fitness rank 1. I'm also going to get +2 damage when I attack in combat. Normally if I succeed in an attack, I'll deal 1 damage, but since I have +2, I'll deal 3 now. And I've also reached this exclamation mark on the combat tracker, which means that I'm going to gain 2 insight, which is kind of like experience points in most RPGs, every time that I damage an enemy. So that's the way I've chosen to lay out my skills. Of course, you could allocate your 6 points in a one-player game any way that you want. We also have stats over here, such as health. Health will start at 8 at the beginning of the game, and hypothermia is going to start at this first stage of hypothermia. Insight will be at 0. Opportunity will be at 4. You don't start poisoned or diseased. You might be asking, well, why am I starting at 8 health and not 10, and why am I a little chilly out here and not totally warm? Well, it has to do with the backstory. In Backwoods, you were on an expedition. You guys were successfully trekking west across the Rockies until you came across the Colorado River. You decided to get in your canoe and try to float down the river to save some time. Unfortunately, the rapids had other things to say about it, and you ended up crashing, wrecking through the rapids, being spewed out on shore. You took a little bit of damage, and surely the cold water in the early springtime has also caused you to be a little hypothermic. So that's the reason for why you're starting. In Backwoods, your goal is dependent on a scenario. There are 4 different scenarios. There are also 2 different game modes. So you'll refer to the instruction manual, but mostly what you're going to be doing is you're going to try to start from a cabin that you've found and took shelter in for the night, and get back to the fort, a beacon of civilization in this rugged wilderness, while completing 2 different objectives. There are 4 objectives to aim for, but you need to get 2 of those completed and get back to the fort without anyone dying. It's a cooperative game, so there's no competitive. It's not semi-cooperative, it's just straight cooperative. So getting into these stats, health, obviously if you reach 0 health, you die. If anyone reaches 0 health, the game is over. There is a caveat with faith, which I'll explain later, which could bring someone back from the dead. Hypothermia, it's pretty much if you have nothing to keep you warm, such as a fire that you crafted from using wood, or a fur coat, anything to keep you warm, at nighttime you're going to go down the next stage and then lose health for that. So hopefully that doesn't occur, but hey, it happens. Insight, it's like experience in most RPGs, so when you have encounters with wildlife or in the wilderness, you're going to gain insight. Regardless of if you succeed or fail, win or lose, you will gain that insight because you still had an experience that you learned from. So maybe you gained 2 the first day and the second day you got to 4. Once you reach 4 insight, you're going to actually be able to put it back at 0 and then level up your rank in one of these abilities of your choice. Now, if you had extra insight, let's say you were at 3 and you gained 3, well, that would put you at 4, you'd go back to 0, and then you'd actually gain the extra 2 because you had a total of 3 before. Opportunity, you start with 4, and opportunity is used for adding to the forest bag different tokens, resources, or drawing from said forest bag. And adding takes 1 and drawing takes 2. We'll go over that later when we're in the foraging phase. If you get poisoned, then you can't gain health while you're poisoned, and that's a bit of a problem. And if you're diseased, you get a -2 penalty when you do any skill check. Speaking of skill checks, skills and abilities, we'll go over that next. So for Vitality, what it provides you is a resistance check at the beginning of the game, even at rank 0. You can get additional resistance checks whenever you reach a resistance symbol at rank 3 or rank 6. And what a resistance check will do is it allows you to resist poison, disease, or hypothermia when those would normally occur. Now, to take a check, you're going to flip this over to the used checks section, and you're going to roll a die. Okay, and I need an 8. So in my case, I got a 7, and thankfully I have a +1 because I have 1 in Vitality, which governs the resistance check. So I actually have a total of 8, and I'm going to resist whatever said threat would be coming at me at that time. And now this token has been used for the day, and it will refresh at nighttime. It also has the +1 heart regeneration passive, so if for each of these +1s that I reach, I'll gain health at the end of the day, at twilight, which is part of the night phase. Survival provides us the heal check, which is able to cure poison or disease, or heal 2 health on any pioneer that we want to target with that, including yourself. It also provides you bonus opportunity for enhanced ability to add or draw from the forest bag. Opportunity is also used for gaining faith. So opportunity basically represents time, like what you're doing with your time, and how well you are at using your time. So those are the options for opportunity. For fitness, you have the scout check. Now, the scout check allows you to do a plethora of things. If you succeed a scout check, you're going to get a recon token, and a recon token will allow you to either prevent damage from a stealthy creature that was trying to sneak up on you by using the recon token and losing it, or you can use 2 recon tokens to actually see the result side of an event before making a choice, because events are multiple choice where it's kind of a choose your own adventure on each event, and if it has a choice to be made, then you can see the result before you actually do that. And the third thing that a recon token will allow you to do is if you draw a nasty mosquito or wasp from the forest bag, which normally will poison or disease you potentially, then you can just negate that. You'll just discard the wasp or mosquito without it actually affecting you. So scouting can be very useful. The other thing scouting can do, instead of gaining a recon token with those multiple uses, you can also reveal an area before you would actually choose which direction you would go, so you could know what area you're going into ahead of time. Otherwise, if you explore and decide to move into an area that you haven't discovered, you just draw from the top of the deck and you have no idea what you're walking into. So those are the great uses for this. And we also have the swiftness trait, which is a passive skill that you can get in fitness. Each lightning bolt that you reach on the track will reduce your damage that you take from events or battles by 1. Finally, we have combat, which gives me the bonus that I spoke of earlier to damage, or it can also give you that bonus to insight whenever you hit a creature. So this is a big section of the game which we've covered, and now we're just going to move on to actually covering the phases. To start, we're going to explore. In explore, this is the one opportunity a day I have to use my scout checks and to move through different regions. So let's say I took my scout check and I succeeded. This would allow me to reveal the top of the region deck, and I can now choose between moving to a known region from where I am, or just drawing another one from the top and moving in blindly. If I move into this region, it has an effect, which is that I will gain 2 bone from going here because you find bones in a cave when you venture into that area. It sounds pretty good to me. There's nothing bad that happens from moving into this area. I'm going to go ahead and move in. So I would gain 2 bone for crafting. That's pretty awesome. And that would conclude the explore phase. Now for foraging, we're going to go ahead and go to the forest bag. The bag starts with certain good and bad tokens already in it, like wasps and mosquitoes are the bad ones. However, it also comes with some water, some vine, and some wood inside already. So it's not all terrible. Now I can use my opportunity. I start with 4 on my character, so I'm going to use 2 of that opportunity to grab 2 tokens and to add it into the bag. Okay, and then I'm going to shuffle the bag and I'm going to draw a token out of the bag. Okay, and so what we're going to do now is look at crafting and healing. Crafting and healing is pretty self-explanatory. This is the only time of day that you can craft items or use heal checks. Considering that my character has started with 8 health, I do have a reason to use a heal check right now and try to regain that 2 health. So I'm going to try to make that check. Well, I got a 3, and my survival is 0, so I'm not getting any bonus to this check, and I need an 8, so that doesn't succeed, and I'm not going to be able to gain 2 health. So that's just too bad, but that's the way it goes. And now we're able to craft items. Let's say I had a wood and a vine. Well, with these 2 resources, I have a plethora of options. I could upgrade my starting weapon. I could craft new gear, such as a rope, which would prevent bad environmental effects when I move into areas. But right now I'm going to choose to craft a log trap, which allows me to attempt to catch an animal for food, and other resources such as bone and hide. And now we're on to the event and battle phase. So during the event and battle phase, what we're going to do is draw a card from the bottom of the deck, not the top, because the top is always revealed, so we want to have it be a surprise. And we're going to read that event. It's been a foggy day. Now you smell smoke. Looking around, you see an orange glow. A forest fire is spreading. Knowing how to act quickly will spare your lungs from the searing smoke. Make a survival check. If you fail, take 4 damage. Pioneers with vigorous or hardy traits succeed the check. Well, I have the regenerating trait, so that's not going to help me. So I need to make a survival check, or I'm going to take 4 damage. My survival's at 0, so I'm not going to get a bonus to this check. And I get a 4. That's not sufficient, so I'm going to take 4 damage. Now, thankfully, I do have the fitness trait, which gives me a swiftness, so actually it's going to be 1 less damage. Now let's see if there is anything that I gain from this. Yeah, I do gain insight. I get 4 insight, which, even though I took damage from searing smoke entering my lungs, hey, there's a positive side. At least I'm going to gain insight. So I would go to 4 insight and I would gain a rank and an ability. I'll go up in vitality because that's going to give me an additional regeneration every night for health. Moving on, now that we've been through the event for the day, we're going to go to the eat and drink phase. So for the eat and drink phase, it's very simple. I need to be able to eat and drink. You start with 1 food in your supply, however, I failed to forage for water today. It probably would have been wiser for me to add water to the bag and try to attain it, but I failed to do so. Thankfully, my build specializes in not losing too much for not eating or drinking. Usually, hunger and thirst cause you 2 damage each, but Charles here is a resilient soldier, used to going long times on the battlefield without food or water, so although I can't drink today, I'm only going to lose 1 health for not drinking. Moreover, I have this trait that gains me a health every time that I eat or drink. So actually, the 1 damage that I normally lose, or 1 health I'd rather lose for not drinking, is going to be negated by the health that I gain for eating. So I'm going to eat and call it good. I'm not going to actually lose any health for that. On the night phase, there's just a bunch of nasty stuff that can happen in this deck. So we're going to see what happens. First thing that I have to do is draw and resolve a night card. So I'm going to do so, and let's just see what it is. Oh, fantastic. In this haunted forest, we have come across choking fiends as we were sleeping. It says I could discard this if anybody had faith 4 or higher, but I didn't choose to use my opportunity to increase my faith. I just decided to look for resources instead. The day is finally over. Why do you feel so anxious? Paranoia gives way to exhaustion. In the dark of night, you are choked by evil spirits. Each pioneer loses 2 health at twilight. Okay, well, now it's the twilight part of the night phase, so I'm going to lose 2 health. My fitness, swiftness bonus here, that would usually prevent damage, only works for events and battles, so it's of no help here. I'm down to 3 health. This is pretty rough for my first day. Another issue is hypothermia. I didn't use wood to craft a fire. Instead, I foolishly decided to craft a log trap, which does no good for keeping me warm tonight. So I'm going to have to take a resistance check right now and try to resist that hypothermia. Thankfully, a 0 on a 10-sided dice actually means 10. So that means that I do resist the hypothermia tonight, so I just stay at the -1. I do lose 1, but thankfully, at twilight, I also gain 2 health, so I'm back to 4. Previously, I'd used all my opportunity to draw from the bag and to add to the bag. Thankfully, every night I also gain 4, plus any bonuses from survival. And that's going to conclude my bonuses and penalties for this day. Now we also put a cleared region token on the current region that we're in, which is just marked by one of these X's. So these are called general markers. They're used to mark item quantities or cleared regions and such things like this. Finally, we start a new day. So we've been through an entire cycle of all the phases in Backwoods, and hopefully this helps you to know a little bit about the general flow of play and the rules associated. There's a lot of helpful tidbits on the cards and on the boards, which essentially help you to not need to use the manual too much. However, the manual is there and replete with details if you so need. Thanks for checking out Backwoods.